Hi everyone, this is Britt Simon. So I've got a little bit of time. I thought it might be helpful if I jump online and answer any questions you have. I don't have a particular agenda, no particular news to update anyone with. I think you all probably know where we lie at the moment, what things are going on. But just in case any of you would like to ask questions, I'm happy to take questions. Okay, so welcome to the first few of you that are on. Malia, welcome to you. You're the first one to say hi. So good to see you. Okay, so I'm expecting to take questions on DV 2020 and 2021 and even 2022 if you'd like. So really any topics are fine by me. Let's see what questions you've got going on. And let me just put up this. Oh, I think we're probably okay with that. Okay. So who have we got? So we've got a few people saying hello. Pound Sterling, I like that name. That's a great name, bearing in mind where I come from. Okay. So important point here, Lunis, when you put your case number, we've got 3 possible years going on right now, right? So I have no idea which year you're talking about. So when you say AF42K, you got to tell me 2020, 2021, or 2022, right? Otherwise, it's just a waste of your time and mine. Good to see you too, Sona. Hello from Fiji. That's awesome. It's really quite amazing the number of countries where people watch my channel from. It's staggering. Okay, so let's just answer this first real question here. Any idea why Judge Mehta didn't issue the order of forgo? I was expecting him to issue it by now, but there is no deadline by which he needs to issue an order. There is a fundamental difference in that case versus the other DV 2021 cases in that that's on a final order track and it's not a PI. And so I do expect an order on go before the end of the month. I think in general, I'm expecting Judge Mehta to rule at the end of the month for the other cases and possibly go. Because I think what he's going to do is let the government do the best they can. And then at the last minute, he's going to preserve visas. That's basically what I think he's going to do. But we'll have to wait and see if that's right. Okay, ET logs. Can I submit my and my spouse support document together in one email at one time? Yeah, absolutely. You should do. Your supporting documents, the documents you send to KCC documents, you send all of your documents for all of your case. So that's any derivatives you have as well as your own documents. You absolutely should do that. Okay, and when you send the documents, please make sure you're putting your case number as the subject line with the zeros, right? With the leading zeros, the exact case number, and put nothing more than that. And that's the best way to send your documents. Why is KCC processing documents by the date people submitted rather than the case number order for DV 2022? They're not. That's wrong. You're incorrect, Sylvia. It may appear that way because when documents are submitted very fast, so some people will have submitted their DS260 very quickly, and particularly if they were single applicants or had very limited travel history, their DS260 could be processed very fast. And so then when they submitted documents, either by being asked or just having documents, there's not very many documents to review. If the documents are in English particularly, or well understood by KCC, there would be very little delay in processing those documents, and those cases could be processed. Now, they do work in case number order. Absolutely. I'm absolutely 100% certain that they do, and I'm sorry if some of you don't understand that, but they do. It's not a question in my mind. However, at the very beginning of the year, there's very few cases in the inbox, right? And so at that point, because they've processed some cases very quickly, we can see high case numbers being processed through very quickly. And it will appear that they're not going in case number order, but instead by date of submission. That's really not correct. It just means that they've emptied the inbox within any given day, and they can process even high case numbers. So your understanding is incorrect. Any update of DV 2021 winner? No, we're just waiting for the remaining interviews to happen. I think they are scheduling interviews still. It feels like they're trying to do some things, as much as possible to get some more cases through for September and possibly even August interviews. And then obviously we will have to wait for the outcome of the lawsuit. It's absolutely clear that we need the lawsuits to win a preservation of visas. There's no other way around about it. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, Top Keck. It does feel like a nightmare at times. The last couple of years have obviously been horrendous. DV 2019, for those of you that weren't aware, that was also a bit of a nightmare, but not because of COVID, but because of the introduction of the document procedure and the disorganization with it. So we've had a few bad years, frankly, of DV lottery. So yeah, it's been difficult. Does DV 2021 have the same chance as DV 2020? I think you referred to, will they get a preservation of visas? Yeah, DV 2020 has made that possible. All the law that has been worked through with Judge Mehta about whether he could preserve visas and whether he can make an order to force the government to issue those visas, all of those things have happened in DV 2020, right? And all of that helps DV 2021 and DV 2022. So yeah, we're likely to see similar orders, I think, in DV 2021. What do I know of Good Luck versus Biden? We're just waiting for the answer. Nothing more than that. Mariam, is the DV lottery 2020 has resumed? Do they pass the law for DV 2020? Yeah, so it's about to resume. The judge has said he's going to rule for us, right? He's going to allow and force the government to issue 9,095 visas. That won't be enough for everybody, but it will cover a sizable chunk of the people that are remaining to be processed, right? Depending on some factors. So, for example, the Muslim ban people, the people that were processed earlier in DV 2020, some of those cases will be reopened, I believe, and some of those cases will be processed. So they'll take some of the 9,095. Also, people who are on AP, were on AP, administrative processing, and people who had been waiting for visas, for their visa interviews at the embassy, those people will get, fast processing, I believe, as well. But has it resumed right now? No, it hasn't resumed right now. I have seen at least one embassy that knows it's going to resume and have said, yeah, we're about to resume. But they've not been told what the rules yet are. And the lawyers are still sort of discussing that with the government, and the government, have to, the government may not agree with what our lawyers say, and then they'll go back in front of the judge, and the judge is going to get annoyed with the government, frankly, because they're being assholes. And so the judge is going to end up telling the government what they're going to do. The government lawyers are being unrealistic and kind of dumb, frankly, making stupid suggestions that not even are legal. So anyway, it's close to resuming, but it's not resumed right at this moment. Okay. Happy to report that the spouse and I have been approved for the green card as part of DV 2021. That's awesome news. I really do get a buzz from every single case I read about where they go through, especially in difficult years like this. I have no idea the number of people that I've helped to get a green card through the blog, etc. But I'm quite sure it's tens of thousands of people, probably over 100,000 people that have used my information, if you like, and used my blog over the last few years, and that makes me feel really good. There's let's say 100,000 people, or whatever number it is. There's 100,000 people living in America, some of whom are going to do great things, right? They're going to have better lives than they had before. That's awesome. Some of them are going to do great things. They're going to come up with future inventions. They're going to be political leaders. They're going to be businessmen and women. They're going to do great things, and their kids are going to do amazing things. And, frankly, I'm happy to have a part in that. And that's why, it's important. My brother often says it's like ripples on a pond. the ripples just keep spreading out, and you've no idea what good those ripples on the pond are doing. It's really, it's a nice way to think about it. When can you start applying for the green card lottery again? It'll reopen in October. The government lawyer thinks that he's got the ability to stop that, and he's an idiot for thinking that way. I can't believe he's that dumb. He's not going to stop that. He thinks that he can stop that so he can process DV2020. It's stupid as hell. Anyway, that's not going to happen. It'll reopen in October because that's the law, and a lawyer should know that. Can I change the person who sponsors me during the interview? Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter. The best way of having a sponsor is by having an I-134, which is an affidavit of support. It's non-legally binding. It's not binding on the person that sponsors you, but it's a good show of good faith that you have someone that's going to help you with, whatever issues you have in the States. So you can take an I-134 from someone that is prepared to sponsor you, and that's going to be helpful. Okay. Carla Lama says nonsense. I don't know what to. I say nonsense a lot, but are you saying something I'm saying is nonsense? I don't know. It's funny. What about previous DV lottery winners 2017 to 2020? Hammond, you're probably talking about Muslim ban, right? It was stated by Biden when he came in, when he took office, that there should be a review of some of Trump's stuff, some of the bans, etc., and perhaps a reopening of cases from 2017 through to 2020. In reality, they did a review and they decided no, that was not going to happen. So Muslim ban refusals from 2017 to 2019 will stay in place. Okay, they're not going to be reopening those. And I've said that many times. People don't want to accept it. I understand if you don't want to accept that, but that's the reality. And Muslim ban refusals from DV 2020, I believe, could be reopened, but not from 2017 to 2019. This HR 3548. I'm not certain that that's the right bill, but I guess that's the bill that the Meng Amendments number 1 and 2 are embedded within. My understanding is that that's got about a 30% chance of going through in law. And that comes from people who are better than I am in terms of reading the tea leaves of politics. I think on balance, there's significant threat to the Meng Amendments. I think they may need to be taken out in order to let that bill go through. And the bill will have to go through because it's about Department of Homeland Security funding. So that bill will go through. Whether that bill goes through with the Meng Amendment or not is the question. And I'm feeling a little bit negative, shall we say, a little bit pessimistic about the chances of that. Ahmad Rabah, I'm a 2021 winner. I'm ready for interview. Didn't receive the appointment. Is there a chance? There's going to be a chance up until September 30th. Yes. There's also a chance that the lawsuits achieve some preservation of visas. The preservation of visas is frankly much more likely and much more impactful than the last few cases being scheduled. So you need to keep an eye on that and hope that the preservation of visas from Judge Mehta comes through. Sanam, nice to see you too. Ruby Carter. SA37X, not received. So the same question, Ruby, that I just answered for Ahmed. I can't say which cases are going to get scheduled and which are not. Your case number is quite high. So I don't know whether you're documentarily qualified. I don't know whether your embassy is open. It's difficult for me to say exactly. Samia, it will took them over the year to come. Sorry, I don't know what that means. Gorky, I hope you're doing well. Do you think KCC will? I don't know, Gorky. I don't know what the rest of your sentence is. What about your case number 6600 plus from Nepal? And I've got no year, there. Again, without the year, it doesn't mean anything. You're welcome. ABDEL, nice to see you again. Stewie Crick, why this delay of interviews? Okay, have you not been paying attention for the last year and a half. So there's been a COVID crisis. There was Trump, who was in power, who blocked everyone from getting interviews, etc. And now the government, although the president has changed, the government have implemented a tier system and said that the priority level of DV cases is in tier 4. And so the embassies are to put all of their effort, if they can, into tiers 1, 2, and 3 before DV lottery cases. And so there are very few interviews being arranged, and probably only about 15 or 16,000 people will get visas. And so we're in courts suing the silly buggers to try and get a preservation of visas beyond the 30th of September. I'm pretty confident that we're going to get some sort of win. I just don't know who it's going to cover, right? The big question for me is whether Judge Mehta will preserve visas just for the named plaintiffs in the Go and Good Luck cases, for example, just for the named plaintiffs. And that would be a big win because there's 24,000 people on the Good Luck case, for example. That in itself would already be a big win. But he might look at that case, and he's been a bit annoyed by the Good Luck case, I have to say. I mean, he's made a couple of comments that, you know, why have you got 24,000 plaintiffs? That should have been turned into a class. And if it were then a class, it would cover everybody. Well, okay, so the Rosellas case, which is also a Curtis Morrison case, they're asking for a class action in that case, and that might end up covering everybody, right? Because it's all before Judge Mehta, and Judge Mehta can decide that he would rather cover everybody in a class, that he either does or doesn't want to give preference to named plaintiffs. But if he covers everybody in the class, then it would reserve some number of the lost, otherwise to be lost visas. And we're about 40,000 visas short. So I don't know if he's going to reserve and preserve all of those visas or not. But we'll have to see, we'll have to see what happens, okay? Christopher, I submitted your DS260, your 2022 OS13. In a normal year, you'd probably be looking at an interview next spring. The question right now is how much progress will they make between now and next year? If, for example, you're in Sydney Embassy, the Sydney Embassy is locked down right now. And both Sydney and New Zealand, I don't know, you look like you might be from down under. I'm sorry, I'm being sort of, horribly assumptive there. So let's say you're in Sydney, or you're in Australia, or you're in New Zealand. Both of those governments are locking down, at the drop of a hat. So depending on what happens on COVID, they could lock down, they could reduce the amount of work that the embassies do. We don't know, right? So it's very difficult for me to sort of make predictions about when it will actually happen for you. But in a normal year, your number would probably be current around about February or March. Okay, this isn't a normal year though. Sona, Go, do you think the order in Go can be similar to Gomez in terms of the random order, considering there is no class certified yet in the case? Maybe. I don't want to predict that. People got really excited in a negative way, and they were disappointed with the Gomez order because it talked about a random order, and more specifically, it didn't give any preference to Kennedy plaintiffs, right? So all the Kennedy people were pissed off about that. The reality is Kennedy was filed late. In a similar way to Good Luck actually was filed late. Curtis Morrison kept the filing open for as long as he possibly could. He wanted as many people as possible on there, but that did delay the filing on the Good Luck case. And Kennedy was also filed late. Most of the arguments in the DV2020 case happened under Gomez, Acker, Mohammed, and Fongjong. And then Kennedy was launched in there to try and buy preference, right? And the judge, frankly, didn't really appreciate that, didn't enjoy that spirit, if you like, and decided, therefore, to not give the preference to the Kennedy plaintiffs. He'd already given, and this is the bit that people miss, he had already given named plaintiffs in Gomez, Acker, Mohammed, and Fongjong, he'd already given preference to those cases, right? There were about 1,000 people on those cases that were treated with high priority during September. Other cases also got through, but those plaintiffs were given a benefit. So he may give named plaintiffs preference, but he doesn't like the good luck case, right? So and Go and good luck are different in terms of where they're at and what type of filings they are. So Go, I think, is more likely to get named plaintiff preference, whereas good luck, I don't think that's going to achieve a sort of a named preference benefit, because there's just too many plaintiffs on that. I don't think Curtis had any idea at all that he was going to get 24,000. I think when he floated that case, he was thinking he was going to get 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, plaintiffs. I don't think he had any idea he was going to get 24,000. It kind of messed things up. So he'd probably see that differently. He's probably not going to appreciate that's my perspective, but that is my perspective, and I'm absolutely entitled to it. So basically I don't know what's going to happen, so no, we'll have to wait and see. Okay. But I think you're on a good lawsuit. The Go lawsuit was filed early. It was more expensive, yes, but it was filed early. The lawyers arguing that case are good. They're very, very good lawyers. They've played smart. They haven't necessarily played everything out in public. They've played their cards close to their chest. And so, things look pretty good, I would say, for Go. Carras, if a ruling is issued to reserve visas 2021, how will it be distributed to the embassies? It's not a question of distribution to countries. That's never a question, right? People get confused about that. They think that their country is somehow important in the allocation of visas. There's absolutely no importance in it. So it will be distributed based on normal rules, which is, probably, and I'm guessing here because this is, there's a question mark about whether there would be priority for named plaintiffs, particularly in the good luck case, right? But if there is no priority given, then it will go by case number and documentarily qualified orders. So, in other words, all cases right now are current. They could easily regress, right? They could easily implement a new lower number. They can go backwards. They're entitled to do that. That's called retrogression. And we've seen it happen before in DV lottery, where they're current 1 month and they actually implement a cutoff number the next month, right? It has happened. So don't tell me it can't happen. It can definitely happen. So they could implement a case number cutoff. I think that actually might be likely in DV2020. It's one of the things that could happen. But in 2021, they could do that. Or they could just say, look, we were going on documentarily qualified date, and we'll continue to do that, which is, there is some support for that in the law when all cases are current, right? So they might continue to do that. We'll have to wait and see. ABDEL, nice to see you too. Okay, I applied DV2020 as high school degree, but at the time I was still going to high school. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you said. Doesn't matter if you said you're a rocket scientist on the entry. It makes no difference to you. The draw is random, and they don't look at your original draw and say, it says you said in the draw you were a university candidate, and we can see you barely made it through high school. That lie, if you want to call it that lie is not important. What's important is that you meet the requirements. Okay. 2021, no interview from Uganda, posted Nairobi. Yeah, Maria, I don't know what's going to happen in Nairobi, and really it's the same position as every other country in the world. Nairobi is, they're struggling a little bit, I think. I don't think there's been any September interviews arranged yet. We'll have to wait and see if some are arranged before the end of this month. Yeah, so this is a question, Paolo. The judge has said in his memorandum of opinion, Curtis is funny. Curtis cracks me up. Curtis posted, when the order was released, he posted, I don't know how many times about the order. He posted the order. He's a funny guy. So he posted, oh, the order's released. I'm a non-lawyer, so I look at his post and he says the order is released. I post something about the order being released, and he says it wasn't an order; it's a memorandum of opinion. Okay, Curtis, you said it was an order, but never mind. Anyway, the point is that it's a memorandum of opinion. In other words, in that opinion, the judge used the term about random order. And I've listened to some of the lawyers, and they have said that they think he was confused with the way that the random order in which case numbers are allocated. And I agree with them. I don't think the judge actually means to say that there should be a random process of saying, okay, we'll take a case number 80,000 and then we'll take a case number 1,000. I don't think it's going to be random like that. I think it'll go by the ranking order, which was randomly assigned. And so that means low case numbers will have a priority or a preference. But I think there'll also be a priority or preference for cases that have already been interviewed, for cases that are on AP, for cases that are scheduled, that sort of thing. I think it's only fair that those cases that were already scheduled actually continue, with the process with a priority. And I think that that's likely to be how it's going to happen. Okay. Gave interview in 4 months before, but still refused my status and kept my passport, also DV2021. 4 months is a long time to be on AP, unless you're Iranian. If you're Iranian, I can tell you why that is. It's because you're Iranian, and particularly if you're an Iranian man. Okay, Iranian females tend to get processed faster in the rare times when they're selected. But Iranian men, because they generally have some sort of military service, etc., and because of Iran's position against the US, and because of Iran's lack of cooperation with the US in performing background checks and that sort of thing, all of those factors combined together, and it just means that there are long periods of AP for Iranians. If you're not Iranian and your process has taken 4 months, I don't know why. That seems nuts. Gorky, you're going to finish off a question. Do you think KCC will continue sending 2NLs in the following weeks? When's the latest practical date to receive a 2NL? First part of the question, I think they will. I was starting to think they weren't going to send any more interviews, but I think they will. When is the latest practical date to receive a 2NL? That's a loaded question. I've seen 2NLs in very, very rare exceptional circumstances, and I'm not talking about DV 2020, but prior to that, I've seen 2NLs with a few days' notice before the end of September. So maybe the 2NL went out to a person, let's say mid-September, that sort of thing. So technically, it is possible in small numbers. It's not possible in volume to do that, right? So you can't suddenly send out 1,000 2NLs on September 20th and expect everything to just work fine. It won't work fine. It'll be a disaster, right? The doctors, have no time. The people need to get a medical. There's no time to process that number of cases. So roughly speaking, very roughly speaking, I think we could see a small number of 2NLs go out up until roughly the middle of September, maybe, right? And that already would be exceptional. Okay. Other than that, it should finish up by the end of this month, really. In fact, that's already too late. By the end of this month, they should already be scheduling October interviews for DV 2022. So yeah, we're already on borrowed time in reality. Okay, does it matter if I submitted DS260 now after 1 month? No problem. It doesn't matter if you're late. And in fact, if your number is Asia 18,000, you've got a pretty high case number. It's going to be a full year before they get to your number, if at all, right? So no, you're not late at all. Don't worry about it. Jennifer Bafur, AF37K, what are my chances? Higher or lower case? It's a medium case number. But, I don't know what your chances are. Hello, 2022. Phil, waiting for a reply from KCC, but I want to submit an application for 2023. Is it safe to do that? Yeah, absolutely. Everybody can enter DV 2023. Doesn't matter whether you're processing DV 2022 or 2021 or whatever else. It doesn't matter. You'll be able to enter DV 2023 with no impact on the other years or on that year, right? No problem. Go ahead, do it. Sevak, you're a 2020 EU 24K. Right now you're in the US, and I'm wondering if I stay here and adjust your status, or if of course I will be randomly selected. Okay, this should really be cleared up by the lawyers. I don't think you're going to be able to do that. And I think if I were you, I would be playing the game a little bit and trying to switch to consular processing. The reason I'm saying that is that during DV 2020, people that were in the country did not have all the same impacts upon them that people doing consular processing had, right? And so there is no part of the lawsuit that is specifically addressing people that were in the US and affected by DV 2020. So I don't think they're going to allow adjustment of status. Now, I could be wrong on this, but I don't think they're going to allow adjustment of status when they start reprocessing cases. I think that that's not going to happen. So the only way that you're going to be able to process your case, I believe, is through consular processing. Now, you're entitled to make your own decision about whether you want to apply or not, but you're on sticky ground, I can tell you. So, you know, I personally would advise you to, if there's a chance at all of getting your case through, and there may be at EU 24K, although it's not a low number, you know, your best chance is through consular processing, not adjustment of status, in my opinion, on DV 2020. Okay, and I'm very specifically addressing DV 2020 in that comment. When you say, how does that work for people who receive 2NL or people who sign up for lawsuit? Well, so this is the thing, you know, what's the prioritization? Is there going to be some prioritization on, you know, for named plaintiffs? We don't know yet, right? We'll have to wait and see. I assume you're DV 2021. It really helps when you make these sort of comments. Give me the year and the region and the case number range, right? So I can get a better answer to you. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Rosellas plaintiffs will get priority. It is normal in a case, in a class action, the named plaintiffs of the class representatives, they do normally get a preference, right? So if Rosellas is turned into a class action, then those people would get a preference. Specifically for that reason, I think it's less likely that Judge Mehta would give a class action status to Good Luck, right? Because there's 24,000 applicants, and he made a number of comments about why didn't you just do this as a class action? So, and there's, you know, there are some obvious reasons why it wasn't done as a class action. Okay. Ram, will there be any impact of high chance of refusal of AP while attending interview from the country that is not eligible for the DV program? Because not really, no. You can attend your interview anywhere. Let's say, you know, UK, for example, there are a lot of, the UK, London Embassy processes a lot of cases from other countries. And they don't have high numbers of refusals there simply because they don't know what they're doing, because they do a lot of business, right? So not being eligible is not the problem. You touch on the real problem. You know, if you go in China, for example, and we have quite a lot of people who process through in China, and in China, they're not going to necessarily be aware of your documents, right? They don't necessarily process a lot of cases, and so maybe they won't, you know, they won't know the rules. So yeah, there is a little bit of difficulty because of an embassy that doesn't process a lot of DV cases. They can sometimes make mistake in the adjudication. There can also be a problem with the recognition of documents, even though they're translated, etc. Somebody in let's say an embassy in China will not have any clue what the education system is in, in Ghana, right, or in France. They're not going to have any idea, right? So they don't know whether that person has actually met the requirements or not. So that could be impactful. Okay. Okay. This is a really interesting question in a way. It's just very easy to answer a question. What class of people usually win the green card lottery, like depending on their age and so on? Let me just make this really clear. It's random. Do you understand what random means? Random means there is no preference given for anybody. So that person could be young, they could be old, they could be fat, they could be thin, they could have one leg, they could have 3 arms. It doesn't make any difference, right? The level of education doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It's random. It's just like a big bucket with entries, and they put their hand in a big bucket. It's just as random as that. Okay, it's just that. Honestly, people are so funny. People, I've seen so many times. Oh, you got more chance if you're married. You got more chance if you're single. No, you got more chance if you list a higher education. All bullshit. All utter bullshit. Every case, every entry has the same chance of selection as every other person, every other entry in their region. That's literally how the law is written. That's how it's supposed to be, and it works that way. That's how it works. And then people will say to me, yeah, but my country has very few winners, whereas the country next door has much more winners than me. Well, that's because they have more entries. That's because more people enter. And so they get more winners. It's as simple as that, people. It really is. If your country has very few winners, it means they had very few entries. It's just the way it is. And all of that information is out there on the internet for you to have a look at. It's all provable. So even if you don't understand the law, you can see the logic. Mauricio, you're a DQ'd 2021 winner. Haven't got in my interview. What chances do you think of? I have no idea. I don't know. I can't predict your chances. Pound sterling, the name I like. Where could I apply for the lottery? Okay. Only apply for the lottery on dvprogram.state.gov, right? Only apply at that location on that website. Don't go to any other website. Don't use the internet cafe down the road. Don't go to those agents that are going to rip you off later. They're all going to rip you off one way or the other. It's a free lottery. You can enter on dvprogram.state.gov. There's no need to pay any fees. And if you enter yourself, your own details, and you can answer 14 questions or whatever it is, or 15 questions, as long as you can answer those 15 questions, then you're in. You've entered. You don't need to pay anyone to enter for you. All right, so please avoid being ripped off. Enter at the official free site, okay? Okay. Again, I can't predict chances of interview. Your case number is medium. I can't predict your chances of an interview. Tamara could not get the email confirmation yet. Can I submit documents again? 2020 applicant asked several times. KCC didn't answer me. They're not going to answer you, right? Try and understand. Right now, DV2020 is ended. As far as KCC is concerned, or almost any embassy around the world, as far as they're concerned, DV2020 is ended. It's only when they get the official order from the court that's given to the government, and the government speak to the bosses at KCC, and the bosses at KCC and travel.state.gov, the Department of Homeland Security, once DHS have gone through that whole process and communicated to all the embassies, then something can happen, right? But right now, as far as they're concerned, your case is ended. Okay, so stop sending documents on DV2020. It doesn't make sense. You will be able to send your documents again later, but we now understand much better how they handle in what order they handle the documents. And you may not have got your email, your document confirmation, because perhaps your case number is high. And if that's the case, then you won't get one of the 9,095 visas because your case number is high. Right? That's how it will work. Pound sterling, yeah, this is what I just said. Don't pay money, right? Don't pay money for something that's supposed to be free. If you pay money, number one, you're a bloody idiot, right? Number two, you're going to get ripped off. Okay. If you pay someone $5 or $10 or whatever, what's going to happen is they're going to keep your details. They're going to know your win. And, in some unscrupulous cases, and there are many, many people who do this, they're going to check your entry later on, and they're going to keep your entry details, and they'll check for you because that's part of the service, right? They're nice people, and they'll check for you. And then when you have won based on your entry that you paid them to do, they will then say, "Oh, congratulations, you're a winner. Now give me $4,000 for your winning information," and they'll rip you off. And you'll come to me and say, "How can I fix that?" And I'm going to say, there is no way to fix that. Okay, so don't pay anyone, right? It's a simple thing, right? Sure. Her name is so good, she used it twice. My question is, I went to South Korea and Trinidad and Tobago for college and master program. I never stayed in both countries more than 4 months. Do I need to get a police record? Did you get a master program? Did you get a master in 4 months? I don't think so. So, but did you combine that somehow? I mean, is it, did you move from one to the other? I don't know. If you can show that you were only in a country for 4 months, then no, you're not required to show a police certificate from that. But I had a case the other day where the CEO asked for a police certificate for someone that was in a country for only 9 months, but the person can't probably prove they left the country and were only in the country for 9 months. And so the CEO asked for the police certificate. If they want the police certificate, they can ask for it. And once they've asked for it, it's required. Okay. So there's no point in arguing with them at that point. You've got to get them the police certificate. So you probably are okay if you can prove that you entered the country and left the country 4 months later. If you entered the country a couple of times and cumulatively it's close to or over a year, then you should get a police certificate. Okay, don't try and be clever with it. Alex, we have submitted our docs 4 times within the last 8 months. Never heard back from set the auto reply. Right. So a few months ago, up to a few months ago, I would have said to you that keep sending the documents because it probably means that they've lost your documents or something. It probably, on the other hand, I now understand better. It probably means you've got a high case number and they never got to your documents. That's basically what happens. They have an inbox. The inbox is sorted by case number, and the case number is what you type in the subject line. So if you type in other information in the subject line, you have the chance where you're putting your case at the bottom of the list. If your case number is high and you put it in the subject line correctly, then they will get to your case number, but only after your case number is the next case number down, right? So they'll deal with everybody else in front of you. So it could just be, Alex, that you've got a low case number. If you've got a low case number and you've sent your documents 4 times and you've checked all your documents, they're the right documents and all this sort of thing, it could be that you've messed up the email. You've got the subject line wrong. Could be that. Okay, a few more questions and then we'll call it a day. There's only 2.5 for September. Yeah, I don't know. There might be some more interviews in September. I don't know. Gave interview 4 months. They still refused my status. How can I join personally with Simon? How can I join personally with Simon? What do you mean join personally? You mean marry? I'm already married. I don't know what you mean, but you have to be patient. I think you asked me before about your 4 months delay, but that email, is that Persian or Iranian? I don't know. How do I change my interview to another country if I don't have residence to any country? You probably can't, is the answer, Ahmed. There are certain countries where the embassies are only accepting people from within that country, residents of that country, the citizens of that country or residents of that country. So you can't just transfer your case all over the place. Not at the moment. There's too many restrictions, and they don't want people traveling all over the world for interviews, etc. So generally speaking, you can't just do that. But you're welcome to try and see if that's the case in your particular position. Okay, so Alex, you've now given me, I know, hang on, let's see, what did you say before? Submitted your documents 4 times, yeah, I don't, so again, oh, well, I mean, it is Moscow also. Moscow's not doing any interviews, so and you know why. So, but it sounds like you haven't waited, or you haven't even heard from them about your documents. So, yeah, answer the question about the documents I asked. Okay, let's see. Yeah, you often say that, Kate's saying, you often say that DV 2022 will be affected as 2020 and 2021 has been. Do you see that being an issue for Oceania where the consulates have processed quite efficiently? They had done up until Sydney locked down. Yeah, they were doing pretty well. And OC only has about an allocation of about 850 visas to issue. So it's not like it takes a lot of effort to do that. It's only 450 cases they have to do in the whole Oceania region, right? So it's not like it's hard for them to do that. But if they lock the embassies down, if the embassies are not allowed to operate at all, it could be impacted, right? It could certainly cause delays. So, we'll have to see how things go. The reality is COVID is still going to be an impact in DV 2022. It's not going away anytime soon because there are too many idiots that won't take the bloody vaccine and won't wear a mask. And so, while there's idiots like that running around, and there are, probably 50 million idiots in America like that, while those people are doing that, then countries like Australia and New Zealand have to close their borders, have to have restrictions, and get hyper sensitive when they have a few cases of COVID in their country, right? So they go through lockdowns at a drop of a hat. Whether that changes or not, I don't know, right? We'll just have to wait and see. That's how that will work. Carlos, is it possible that the judge indicates that DV 2020 has to be solved without damaging the DV 2022 process to avoid another year? He can't mention 2022 on his verdict. He's not interested in 2022. He's not interested in making it smooth, right? He's not, he's not thinking in those terms. He's trying to act responsibly in terms of the law, and the government have to figure out how to make it work. The government came up with a stupid suggestion of delaying everyone to 2023 fiscal year, based on their ridiculous assumption that they could somehow, impact the DV 2023 processing because no one's been selected from that yet because nobody's entered that. I mean, it was idiotic thinking, right? And the guy didn't know that laws exist that control the flow of the DV lottery. It's just beyond me how he could have thought that. But Judge Mehta is not going to say, here's what I'm ordering, 9,095, but you mustn't affect DV 2022. He's not going to say that, right? That's for them to figure out. And if there's an impact to DV 2022, there will be an impact. And guess what? There will be lawsuits if that's the case, right? So that's how it'll work. But to be perfectly honest, October, November, December are normally quiet months anyway for DV lottery interviews. And they're particularly quiet at the moment because we're still laboring under this Tier 4 designation. So my point to the lawyers strongly has been, get the order from Judge Mehta, and get him to say, okay, you need to process these cases for DV 2020 as mission critical, which means that they will be processed very quickly. And we probably only need 3,000 visas, 3,000 interviews, which is, it's not very many interviews. They could process that easily in October, November, December, and not even impact DV 2022. They could do it easily. Okay, so so don't worry about DV 2022. And if DV 2022 gets impacted, well, okay, so be it. The reality is, the laws that we've fought for, the wins that we fought for in court are going to help DV 2022 anyway. So without that, DV 2022 is going to be screwed. So buckle up, buttercup. You're just going to have to deal with some impact for DV 2022 if that happens. But as I say, I think there's a way around this, that they can process the DV 2020 cases in the first 3 or 4 months of next year and not have an impact. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Case number is 9K, and guess what you didn't tell me? I don't know your year, so I have no idea. You could be any of the 3 years. I'm not even going to waste my time. If you're a Muslim, can you still win the green card lottery? Oh my God, Mohammed. Of course you can. Just look at you're the same guy that asked about the whether it was random or not. But just look at the results. Of course, you can see lots of Muslim majority countries have winners. It's just a random process. Nobody knows your religion when you enter the lottery. Come on. It's as simple as that. If a ruling is issued to reserve visas for 2021, how is it distributed? I've already talked about that. Dr. Mohammed Anmar, 2022 AS 4800. Embassy's backdate is closed. Yes, sent an inquiry about that to KCC. Not ready to my question. Unlock my DS. Oh God, you asked them about Baghdad and they responded after 2 months and just unlocked your DS260. Oh geez. Even though you didn't ask that. Any advice? Yeah, just get ready. Just try again. The reality is KCC are not going to tell you anything about Baghdad. And the reality is you're going to have to go somewhere else for your interview, right? That's just the reality. And, you don't really need to ask KCC about that. It's just obvious. Do you think that cases that have their documents unqualified still have a chance? So you're talking about 2021? Are you talking about 2020? Come on, please help me help you, right? I don't know how to answer that. When do you think KCC will start processing DV 2022? First scans of documents. They have already given some cases the ready for scheduling on DV 2022. So they have been working on DV 2022 cases. Quite late, I would say. They would normally have started work in mid-July. And they would be setting up interviews in August for October. And I haven't heard from a single person that has an October interview. There may be some, but I haven't heard any cases that have got a DV 2022 October interview yet. But yeah, they are working, right? But there's just not going to be very many interviews in October, November, December. There never are in a normal year, and this is a worse year than most, right? Mohammed Kalal, I never see you or almost anyone on your blog talking about interview processing. Is it not important? I'm at the stage where I'm still not getting. Well, what do you mean about interview processing? I talk about interview processing all the time. What are you talking about? I'm at the stage and still not getting to an L. What should I do? My answer to you depends on your year, your case number, your documentarily qualified status, and so on. And I don't understand what you're talking about interview processing. I talk about that constantly, so I don't know what your question was. Yeah, I already answered your question earlier. Gru Marco, do you think that the judge matter can overturn the prioritization scheme by DOS and make DV mission critical? Okay, you really are talking about, well, okay. The DV 2020 Gomez memorandum of opinion that was issued by Meta specifically called out the arbitrary and capricious way that the government had decided to not make the cases, the DV cases, mission critical when it was bloody obvious they should, right? Because the DV cases, unlike other types of visas, have a deadline, right? So they should have been treated by as mission critical, and Judge Meta pointed that out, and he found in favor of the plaintiffs on that point. And I think he feels strongly about that point. However, is he prepared to take the next jump and do that for DV 2021? I don't know. Is he going to tell DV 2020, is he going to order that those cases under Gomez be processed as mission critical? I don't know. I've asked the lawyers to focus on that. I think Curtis disagrees with me. I think several of the lawyers actually disagree with me. But honestly, I can see the car crash happening. I think I can see that car crash happening frankly, better than the lawyers can. Without mission critical, we're going to be in trouble on DV2020 if they start coming up with an end date and they don't have mission critical. It's going to be a mess. So they need mission critical. In terms of DV2021, will Judge Mehta remove the priority for the level, the tiered priority level, and say to the government, you have to raise the priority? That's a much bigger ask. And I'm not sure any of the lawsuits have crafted their requests to the judge in the right way to achieve that. I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see whether he does that or not. But Judge Mehta is absolutely aware of that situation, which is why I've said to the lawyers, go for the mission critical, because he is aware of it. He knows the impact of that. He's, it's in his memorandum of opinion, right? So yeah, they should do that. 2020 and 2021, will it affect the processing in 2022? Maybe. So what? It's just, yeah, it might. But if it weren't for DV2020 and DV2021, DV2021 would be screwed. So, that's just the way it works, right? And it's got to be fair. All the work has been done in DV2020 and DV2021, all of the arguing with the government. That's what's going to make that's hopefully what's going to make DV2022 go relatively smooth. Because I'll tell you this, without these lawsuits in 2020 and 2021, DV2022 would be processed with the Tier 4 priority level, which would result in probably 10, 15, 20,000 visas being issued in DV2022, right? So the only thing that's going to stop that is the lawsuits from 2020 and 2021, and possibly lawsuits in 2022, right? You get that? So don't complain that there's going to be some impact to DV2022 from DV2021 and 2020, when those cases are the most likely, fix for what's about to happen in DV2022. Please understand that. I can't stress that hard enough. That you've got to understand that. Dina, I'm turning 17 years old on February 2022. I'd like to know if I can apply for the next lottery. Yes, you can. There is no lower age limit or upper age limit to enter the lottery. The only requirement is that on the day of the interview that you meet the education requirement, but that's a long time away. So you'll enter the lottery in October of this year. You'll turn 17 in 2022 in February. You won't be interviewed probably until you're 18, right? So it's a long way away. So yeah, absolutely. You'll enter. There's no harm in you entering. Okay. And your age is not as important, by the way, as your education level. Okay, don't screw up your education, by the way. Make sure you pass, okay? Tina, make sure you pass. But 1992 is a marriage year on my DS260, but marriage certificate says 1990. Do you need to unlock an update? Nah, not really. It's not particularly important. It's either 29 years ago or it's 31 years ago. Who gives a crap? Right? Either way, it's years ago, it's decades ago. So who cares whether you got the date wrong or not? It has no technical difference whether it's 1992 or 1990. It's still a long time ago, right? And congratulations for remaining married so long. Well done. Mohammed, important. Afghans who move to neighbor countries without visa, embassies are closed due to current situation. Will they face any problems? No, I think people are going to be obviously sympathetic to the plight of the Afghani people. So if people can get the hell out of there and go to neighboring countries, if they're able to do that, then they should do that. Another, Vanita says she's got her OC21XX in Auckland. Awesome. Well done. Congratulations. DV2021 from Algeria, 3,200. From Algeria. Is Algeria still only at 56,000? 5,600 is low. But anyway, it really is not your case number that's important. It's about when you became documentarily qualified. The case number has got nothing to do with it, because all the cases are current, right? What's going to happen for people who are DQ and not get an interview in September for DV 2021? If there's no judgment that helps those people, then those people will lose their opportunity. That's the way the law and the DV lottery process works. The September 30th is a hard deadline. Okay, so unless cases and visas are preserved on September 30th or before, then you will just lose your opportunity. It's as simple and as sad as that. My wife and I have been following you. This is BJ for a few years now. I just want to say, oh, thank you. Thanks for the kind words. Thank you, BJ. What it means if your case is at MVC. I see this question a lot. I've got a FAQ about it, FAQ. MVC is not who is handling your case. Your case as a DV lottery case is going through KCC, which is like a different department similar to MVC. NVC is National Visa Center, but they don't handle DV lottery cases at all. It simply means that in the SEAC system, they were too lazy to put a status which means your case is at KCC. And so every case, before it's scheduled for interview, is at NVC. That's how it shows in the system. It just means that you haven't been scheduled for an interview, and you're the same as every single other case that hasn't been scheduled for interview yet, right? It's just the starting status. It doesn't mean anything more than that. And you certainly ignore all of the instructions under that message. Okay. Will they interview more people than DV 2021? Depends on local conditions, depends on the prioritization, depends on a bunch of stuff, right? This is interesting. You're from Asia, but you're assigned with a 2022 OC case number 1000 where your present address is. Any pros and cons on that? Yeah, there could be a con. You've probably screwed up your entry. When you say you're from Asia, you have to be clear. The entry is based on the country of birth, right? So it's not based on where you live. So if you've got an OC case number, it probably meant that you are that you were living in Australia or somewhere like that, right? And you've probably screwed up your entry and therefore got an OC case, and you're not entitled to it. Unless you're married to someone who is legitimately from the OC region, and if you're born in an Asian country, right, an AS region country, then you are guaranteed to be disqualified. It's as simple as that. There's no way to fix it. Okay? So, sorry for the bad news, and I'm sorry if you don't believe me, but that's the reality. There is no way to fix the mistake that I think you've probably made. Okay, so unless, as I say, unless you were married to someone at the time of entry where you were able to choose their country of eligibility, then, unless that's the case, you've probably screwed yourself up. Let me know, Sanam, in a further comment if you think you have some reason that you chose, your country of residence as your country of chargeability, which would be wrong. Melissa, I sent my documents to last year about 15 days ago. My documents about 5 years and around 15 days ago, and I got asked to send them again. My passport was expired. Should I send the new one? Yeah, send old and new. All right, so scan your old one, which is the one that you use to enter the lottery, and scan the new one too, right? And have a PDF that explains you're including the new one and the old one, right? Because you've just recently renewed your passport. Okay, have that in the PDF. Don't write that in the body of the email; it'll be ignored. Write that on the PDF. Okay. For October VB, the current 900 for Nepal didn't send a requirement document email. What you? Okay, they're not going to send interviews to very many people in October in DV 2022. It'll be very few. Okay, so you're just going to be patient. It's just going to be a question of being patient for a while. You are the winner. Actually, there's lots of the winners in 2022. Fill the DS260, and I did wrong in my education when I request unlock. Yeah, you probably can. It depends what you did wrong. I mean, some mistakes are trivial. You don't really need to correct them, but But on the other hand, it's better to have accurate information. So in that case, yeah, unlock and correct it. Okay, so unfortunately, my system just scrolled past a bunch of messages here, but I'm just going to pick a couple of others because we're over an hour already. Donuts and Coffee Podcast, great name. Britt, for those having their interview on the last day of the fiscal year, does it mean their case goes to AP, they are denied as visas? Yeah, normally it does, yeah. If you go to a September 30th interview, you better bloody well be prepared. You better have every document with you that you could possibly be asked for. You better, you better have taken that really seriously because, yeah, there's not normally any time for any delays like coming up with a document after the September 30th. And I've seen this happen. I've seen people, who didn't go well prepared to their interview and screw the whole thing up. What a mess. What a stupid thing to do, frankly. So make sure you're properly prepared and take additional documentation with you that you might need, right? So just make sure you don't go into AP. There are some types of AP. So I mentioned earlier about Iranians. There are some types of AP that are pretty much unavoidable, and you have no control over that, and that's just tough luck. But yeah, that's normally that would mean the end of your case. Of course, if there's a preservation of visas that allows processing to continue beyond September 30th this year, then that will be different this year. But normally that means you're out of luck. SOL. Sharon, I sent my documents to KCC as they asked, but no answer yet. Anyway, and yeah, your case is at MVC because every case is at MVC. That's just the starting point. Is there any chance to get selected again in the same batch? Yep. Not. What do you mean the same batch? You mean the same year? If you've entered twice in the same year, then you should be disqualified. And once they catch you, you will be disqualified, and then you'll probably be banned for every other year from that point forward. So, but if you mean from one year to the next, like you got selected in DV2020, can you get selected again in DV2021? Yeah, absolutely, it can happen like that, and there are plenty of people that happens to. It's a random selection. The selection process doesn't know that you were selected in the previous year or a previous year, right? So it's random. Of course, it can happen. It's not very common, but it does happen. What about DV Lottery 2021 in Uzbekistan? Will the embassies reopen at the same time in all countries? No, they won't. At the same time in all countries? No, of course not, because the COVID situation is different in all countries. So other than that, I don't know what else you want to know. You can send the documents. Okay, this one is when you're asking for an unlock, can you send your documents? You can send your documents even before the case has been unlocked or while it's unlocked. There's no harm. The documents is separate to the DS260. Shall you travel back and forth? You were asking earlier about the 4 months in, where is it, Trinidad and Tobago and Sri Lanka or something. Okay, if you traveled backward and forth and you were 4 months here and then 4 months there and then 4 months back in the country where you were earlier and then 4 months again, went back here. If you kept doing that, right, and cumulatively you were in one of those countries for either more than a year or even close to a year, then you should get a police certificate for that country, right? That's what I was saying earlier. Yes, DV2020 people that think they're about to be processed again, there's a couple of things you can do. Make sure your documents are fully up to date. So is your passport valid? If not, go and renew it. Start the renewal process now, right? Is your police certificate up to date? If not, renew your police certificate or police certificates. Renew them right now, right? You will need new medical if you had a medical before, but don't do the medical yet because that's very expensive, and and there's no point in booking that until you've actually been told you're going to get an interview. But it would be a wise thing to replace your passport, renew your passport, and get your police certificates, particularly if you're in a country where it can take weeks to get a police certificate, right? So yeah, be smart. Aka, oh God. Carolina, you're asking, is it possible that ACCA cases can enter the United States with the expired visas? Do you think Judge Mehta will be ordered to do so? You're talking about people that weren't. So ACCA has a class action for a very, very small number of people, and you're presumably one of those, where you had a visa issued prior to the March shutdown, and it expired sometime during 2020. And in the ACCA case, there was a class action about that, which the judge has not spoken to. And I thought there was nothing in the order or the memorandum of opinion about that. However, Charles Cook is saying that he believes that the way it's written, whether it will be in the final order or not, I don't know, but the way it's written seems to suggest that Judge Mehta thinks those people are being allowed by the government to enter the country. I don't think Judge Mehta is correct about that, but that might be what he intends, right? So Charles Cook is planning to work that out with the government and with the lawyer, I think on Monday. They're going to try and look into that. So I don't know at the moment whether that's going to be covered or not. Curtis Morrison believes it's that Chuck Cook is incorrect on that point. So we'll see what happens, but wait for the next few days, and that is something that Chuck Cook is trying to resolve. Okay. Please say something about Africa. Nice place. Good lions, good elephants. All right, I don't know. To be precise, Liberia, because this is my second time winning KCC, is not doing anything about Liberia, so please help us. There are people from Liberia that are being processed, right? The lottery is a hell of a process. It's not a simple process, right? But there's no particular, position against Liberians. It's just, things have been shitty for the last couple of years, right? So that's all I can say about that. Can Nigeria is among DV lottery for 2021? No. Nigeria is excluded from the lottery because, like my own country, the UK, there are too many people from our countries, Nigeria and the UK, who are already emigrating into the country, into the USA each year. And that's taken over a 5-year period. The only thing I would say is that the COVID crisis has put us into a sort of a very, very low period of immigration. And we might see some countries coming back onto the eligibility list over the next 2 to 3 years because of the low number of immigrants coming into the country over this last 18 months. It could be that case. Now, is that likely to affect Nigeria? I think not. But we'll wait and see. But I don't think that would happen for the lottery that's going to be held later on this year. All right, but we'll wait and see. Okay. Mona, so you're Iranian, based in London. DV was rejected in January 2020 because the presidential proclamations have a chance to make a case. Yeah, you do have a chance. Don't do it yet, but as soon as we have a formal order, a proper order, and if watch my channel and watch my blog and watch my Twitter, watch whatever, right? And as soon as we have a formal order, I will announce it. At that moment, you would then need to reach out to London and say your case was rejected because of the Muslim ban, which has now been revoked, and processing is going to be allowed, right? And they will have been told, hopefully by then, that processing is going to be restarted on DV 2020, and you should be able to reopen your case. So you'll have to be proactive and fast, but yeah, you'll have a good chance of doing that. Okay. Don't forget, you're female, I presume by your photo. Have you got a husband? Did your husband serve in the military? That can cause delays, which can be really bad for your case. Females obviously are less likely to have that sort of problem, and so generally get processed faster than male Iranians. Okay, so there you go. Right. Okay. 1 or 2 more questions and then we'll call it a day. You applied in 2020 as single, got married last month, documents were submitted and ready. So what's your question? You can add your spouse. Is that your question? I don't know. You could be asking for recommendations about what color to paint your bathroom for all I know. What is your question? Is it about adding your spouse? You can add your spouse because you got married, yeah. But make it clear. Case number is updated. Haven't made documents. Can I send the documents or should I wait for the mail? Everybody should just send their documents, right? There's no need to wait to send your documents. Don't wait to be asked. We've learnt now that there's no need to wait. And with your case number, AS400, it's a low case number, and so you should be processed pretty quickly. So don't delay anymore. Send in your documents, right? It's no harm. It won't cost you anything. There's no harm to do that. Yeah, I'm reading this question. Could I speak about priorities for good luck cases? It would be wrong of me to try and predict whether good luck is going to get a prioritization or not. I don't know. I just don't know. There's no way I can talk to that, right? If you really want a prediction about that, you can talk to Curtis, but I'm not gonna try and predict it. Okay. Okay, last question then for Oceana. Sydney lockdown lasting beyond September. What are the chances for OCDV 2021? Okay, so Fallon, the only chance that you've got, because you're right, you can't leave the country right now. I mean, you're screwed, right? Sydney's locked down, and it will stay locked down until beyond September, probably. The border control in Australia is so tight, you can't leave the country to even go somewhere else to interview. So, there's no chance. The only chance you've got is through the lawsuits, and that's through a preservation of visas, which takes, basically gives us more time, right? That's what that would mean. And so we have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. I don't know if you're on a lawsuit or not, but you didn't mention, did you? No. But there's a possibility that the lawsuits provide some benefit for non-plaintiffs as well as plaintiffs. We don't know yet. So you'll have to wait and see if that comes off, right? It's just, there's no way I can sort of really predict that. The only thing I can predict is that there's no way you're going to get your visa by September 30th, right? And so you absolutely need the preservation of visas. Okay, Fallon? Fallon's an Irish name, isn't it? Fallon Ryan, that's, get much more Irish than that. Okay, so I think that probably covers it. I think that's probably as many as I'm going to do. Okay, thanks everyone for joining me. I hope this session was useful and answered some of the questions, even if I didn't get to your question. I'm sorry about that, but hopefully, I answered some questions that are similar and so helped you out. But keep well, everybody. Everybody take COVID seriously. Please get vaccinated if you have the ability to do so. It's really important, and wear your mask, wash your hands, do all that stuff. Okay. And the other really important advice, good for your health, is to subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. All right, everybody. Thanks, and have a good day. Bye-bye.